right? Okay. So, second alignment, I'll fill you in on really how to do alignment with DP in all three flavors. I'll show you a bit around it. So, first a bit of housekeeping. You've had, so those students who are in the Master of Bioinformatics and Systemology have had the fun of undergoing 2 courses, Fundamentals of Bioinformatics and Introduction to Systems Biology. So by now these abbreviations might be clear to you. So the question or the request is, please, if you've not done so, quite a few of you have done it, but we would be very happy if those numbers could be even a bit higher. Yes? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if there's any time, ASAP, but anyway, yeah. I don't think you're dead on the spot when you don't do it tonight. That's good. Okay, so that's housekeeping message 1. 2, you've received already, but of course they asked me to repeat that. So this is about the skeleton, where there was a little hiccup. So a new one was provided, but you must download that one. And then, since the number of students is not low anymore, we are using auto-graders, and that means you need to prime your assignments when you submit it, so that it can be graded, right? And for that you need to download it, and also you need to write your code in Python 3. Python 2 is not good enough, because the auto-grade won't. So then, if the work won't be graded, that's not very nice to do, right? So please, that's important. These points. Okay. Download the new skeleton if you've not done so. And if you now start your assignment, there's no problem because it's the only skeleton that is there. But some of you who have started already, do that. But make sure you write your code in Python 3. Okay, on to alignment. You've done your paper exercise, but let's do it again so we're all on the same page and you really know what the idea is about behind alignment and about dynamic and behind dynamic programming. Okay, so I've shown you a few possible alignments the last time, and so it's basically about matching the letters of 2 sequences that represent evolution best. But as you know, most of the time, the common ancestor, where those 2 sequences should be derived from, because you are only allowed to align sequences that are homologous, otherwise it makes no sense to compare them. So that alignment is, ancestral alignment is normally, ancestral sequence is normally not there, and so we have to guess from some other means. We have to build some score to judge, being able to judge an alignment and say, oh, I like this alignment better than that one. You could say it looks better, it might be something, it might be simple, it might be, oh, this looks more probable, but in the end it would be nice to have just an objective function to be able to judge. And that has to do with maximum likely, that is absolutely true, but one score comes out and dynamic programming is a trick that gives you that score. Now, here you see already what's going to happen when you make an alignment. Rapidly, you'll have to resort to put in placeholders, the minus signs there, and from now on we'll refer to a gap. So you're grabbing my point. Yeah, you're good. So these minus signs here, you see these are the same sequences all the time. And you may guess, visually in this situation you might be able to say, well, I like this one better than that one, or perhaps this one. Which one would you prefer here, this one or that one? You like one best? Yeah, I think so, right? Because there's only one mismatch in 2 positions that matches, and here, and this one of course is complete mismatch, right? It's not even an alignment, you might say. Okay, so that's good. So basically, what is the trick? What do we need to have? We need to sort of judge, to score if letters fall onto one another, if letters are matched, and you can have a match when 2 letters are the same, or a mismatch when that is not the case, and we need to think about something to score these placeholders, to score a gap. Yeah, and the gap can be 1 long, but the gap can also be, let's say, 2 long, and the big sequence of the gap might be 100 long, then you have to skip a big fragment to place the 2 sequences in register. Okay, so I've already told you that a lot of things happen in three. We'll go to three kinds of alignments today. We start with the one in practice already, global alignment, but we'll do semi-global alignment. It's not doing half alignment, but we'll fill you in on that, and local alignment today. So three kinds of alignments, and also what is used in the field most is three kinds to score. The placeholders to score the gaps. The most simple one is called the linear one, where you just say, you know, for any minus sign, you pay a price. We take, well, in the example, we'll do 2 points off per minus sign. That's linear. So if you have 10 of those gaps, 10 of those minus signs, it's 10 times 2 points off. So here, this would mean that you would take 4 times for this alignment. The gap penalty off. Then there is another one, and that's called the fine penalty, where you do a little boost at the beginning, and the other one that I'll show you the pictures to make it a bit clearer. Yes, good. Okay, so linear is just this one. Then there is another one that is called a fine, you know, just geek speak, right? It's called fine, and then basically you discern opening a gap, the first gap position towards any gap position later on. If you have a gap of 10 minus signs, next one over, right? Then the first position is so-called opening gap, and the other 9 are the so-called extension gaps. So you talk about 2 types of gaps, and what you do is, normally you say to open a gap that's a bit more expensive, you take more points off than when you do the following gap, opening it. And if you think through biologically, you might say, well, if you have a gap of 1 in the sequence, and you make that gap twice as big, that means maybe something. But if you have a gap of 100, another sequence in that alignment has a gap of 101, that doesn't matter so much. You don't need to make a big difference. So if you want that kind of things, then you run about a function like this, that it makes, you know, when you progress, then the gap length is the length of a gap. When it becomes longer, you know, the increase, the penalty you take off becomes less. Now, for today, we'll just do the most simple one, this one, just whatever the gap. This is one constant penalty taken off, no matter whether it's the first position or any follow-up position. Okay. And then overall, so the overall score of an alignment will then be just the combination of all the match scores and the mismatch scores when letters fall on top of one another, and those gap penalties. We just add it all up. And here, if gap penalties, that's always a bit confusing. If gap penalties are taken positive, you need to take them off. That's a penalty, so make sure if the penalty is to be filled in positive, you need to subtract it. And some say, no, we give already -2 for the gap penalty. We should not subtract. Then it's not a gap. Yeah. So the idea is that a gap is an event in evolution, something that makes sequences more different. Question?
Also the combination of a concave and things are penalty and
you would like to combine concave with a fine?
you have the curve with penalty as well.
Yeah, you can do anything you like, but computationally it gets more complicated. I'll show you that to build this in. To build a concave before you know it, your algorithm becomes, you know, one dimension more expensive. From a square to a cubic. More about it maybe. Okay. So what kind of sequence do we want to align? So we have the more boring sequences, DNA or RNA, just 4 letters in the sequences, right? And you have the protein sequences that have 20 letters you need to play around with. So that is what you can do. So the basic way of doing it, and you've already practiced that, so this is not news for you. What you do is, with the algorithm, and we calculate through it, and then I go to the background of it, you place one sequence as the columns of a matrix, one sequence representing the rows of the sequence, and then each possible alignment between those 2 sequences are represented by a path through that matrix. And with a bit of luck, an alignment like this drops out, right? Now, normally an input is that you need an evolutionary model, and this is basically a set of substitution scores. What is the likelihood of an alanine in a protein sequence with letter A, you know, being aligned with an I, for example, in this position, Those scores have to be found normally in a matrix. And why is the matrix just half? Why is the matrix symmetrical, you think? Because there's no way to tell whether an A to a V in evolution is something else than a V to an A. Maybe it is, we don't know, because we don't know the origin. That is taken as exactly the same. And typically, we have to feed the algorithm gap penalties as well. And this is really for a fine, for a gap open and gap extension penalty. But today we keep it simple. We'll just have a single gap penalty because we use a middle. So the first example will be, as you've practiced already, a global alignment. There we go. So this is the game we're going to play. This will be our input. So these are the two input sequences, the DNA sequences, say. We'll use a very simple set of parameters. So for each match, same letters, A on A, for example, we'll give it 1 point. If you align two letters as a mismatch, so A on T or something like that, we take 1 point off, and we take the linear gap penalty, 2 points off, put in the minus sign, if we place a minus sign. Okay? So, a way to describe that is here is the formula we'll use in the dynamic programming. This is about matches and mismatches, and here you see this plus minus 1, that's these two guys. When you put a letter on top of another letter, it can be a match, the same letters or not. And here you see the two other possibilities are when we talk about gaps. Placing a gap in one sequence or placing a gap in another sequence. Now let's go to it. Here we have the matrix. So we'll do something, we'll start somewhere here, and we'll end somewhere there, and then we'll talk again what we can do with that. Basically, we'll make an extra row. Here's the exercise here, because what are we going to do? We're going to take care of something right from the start, and that is the possibility that an alignment might start with a gap sign. Is that old-fashioned? Yeah, there's something here. Can anyone see my finger? I don't need to shift the board up. So, an alignment might start like this, right? Might not. And now we get sort of a region that will, whatever. Okay? So this is possible. This is also possible, by the way. So gaps can land anywhere, but they can land at the beginning of a sequence as well. So for that we keep track of those rows, and I'll fill you in a moment. So let's start doing it. And what is the basic trick? In each, the basic formula you follow here means, if you are in a cell, here for example, how do you get to a score? You check the values in the 3 cells like this, the 3 preceding cells, top on the left or coming diagonally above, and you fill it in, and that's what I'm going to fill in a few values, and then you can see. And here you already see the first one. So who can understand why this should be 2? You need to check 3 possibilities, right? What do you check? You first check, say, coming from, okay, here it's coming diagonally. What does that give us? You have a score of 1 here. What do you do when you get here? What do you align basically, being in this cell? If you come from here, A onto an A, is that a match or a mismatch? That is a match, same letter. So do you add 1 point according to the formula? So we get 1 plus 1, making 2 here. But maybe we can do better when we come from here or there. But what would be the score if you come from here? Then you're at this one. So what do? You take the value of this score and you subtract 2. So this would give you here what kind of value? Minus 1, minus 2. Would it give you minus 3? And coming from the top, it's also minus 1. So the same thing. And that means out of the 3 possibilities, indeed, coming from here, diagonally gives you the best score. You pick the best of the 3. And that's how you do it. Very simple. Now let's talk for a moment about this value here. How could that come about? Look at the sequences. What have you got in this cell? We are here, the first 3 letters of this sequence is GAG. And we align that against the first letter of that sequence. So what would make sense? How could you do that? This first letter, where could the first letter land against this sequence? Maybe this is not a bad idea, right? To put the G on top of this G here in the first position. But maybe you say, no, you know what? I'll skip these 2 positions and I'll align this G with this G here. Then you have to keep track of that in the algorithm. How is that done? That's done automatically because here you can choose, and this is where this first line comes in. And who already has an idea? Why is that -2, -4, -6? Think. Anybody an idea? Yeah, you? Yeah, very good. So the gap value -2. So basically this says if you have skipped one gap, if you've skipped 2 gaps, if you skipped 3 gaps, right? So what would the value be if there was -3 here? -3, -6. That's how it works. So it's all quite simple. Now, let's see what happens here. So now who dares to explain to me what going to the right means and what coming from this cell would mean for this position? Anybody an idea? I think you have an idea now you said it. Sorry, you have this one?
One next to the 2. That's
Next to the 2. Sorry, this one. This is 2. The next to the 2. This 2. So sorry, this cell, the -3 here. How can that come about? What are these two possibilities you basically see here?
not from the left, so it's -1, -2.
Yeah. What are you doing there?
So filling in the,
Yeah.
or you come from the -4
Yeah.
and reaching the indication and 1 because the G is the same.
Basically, here you go. This -3 might mean this. That's the possibility when you go. That means this alignment you get when you say, okay, I put the G, these two G's on top here. That's an alignment. That's 2 aligned letters here. The first of each sequence aligned. And then I insert a gap and I insert another gap. That's this here, right? And this means here, and that's the scenario you sketch carefully, is this scenario you say, look, we skip one gap, we skip a gap, and then we go diagonally. That means you match whatever you find. In this case, you match the G on the G. Yeah? Score-wise, this would give you the same score. It's a match combined with the gap of length 2. However you would score it, this will score the same. Okay, so that's the trick. So here it's easier, you don't need to. So that means if you are at the boundary of a cell, if you are like this, you can only come diagonally and from the left, and here it's the same, but you know, you can only go from diagonally like this, or you go down. Because what would it mean if you would come from the top here, and you would add a gap to the preceding gap of the other sequence, so you align a gap with a gap, and there's a big one. So don't do that. So that's important that you have that in your algorithm, and that works well. But for each cell internally in the matrix, you just check the 3 positions and take your match. So this is a nice example, and you can see that, because it turns out if you go from in this way, how do you get to the score? It's -1, a gap penalty of -2 gives you -3 here. And what happens if you go start here, -4, but then what do you make if you do this? You get a match, 1 point, so you get -4 plus 1, also giving you -3. So, in other words, it might be if you are in any cell that you can come from one direction only, but theoretically, it could be that you can come from all 3, give you the same score. That's possible. So we'll talk about that later. Now, let's fill in the whole thing. Calculate this, so why is this 0 and from how many sides can you come here? From how many cells can you come to make the 0? You can see that quickly. From the top, very good, or diagonally, and this one will be off, right? You can see this. Okay, very good. So there you have one more possibilities. Now, the question is, now we're done, but where will our final result be then? What is the alignment score, you think? Well, the answer is there for global alignment. That will be different in a moment. So far, we do it like here. So that means now you've done. So what is the beauty? If you are here in the cell, this algorithm has in fact tried all possible alignments you could make between those 2 sequences. And it gives you that one and it says, you know, from all those possibilities, this is the value, this is the score, the overall score of your alignment. Okay? And we'll check that in a moment. So, the answer for global alignment is the lowest rightmost column, rightmost cell. Okay, now we're going to look, how how did we get there? And now it becomes interesting. So I'm lazy, right? You know, you call in each of those cells from other cells, but since the result we're after is here, we only check, how could I come to this cell? Now, we'll quickly look. You know, this is, of course, too low. This would be -3, this would be -2, so you must come from here. Same here, this would be -1, and this would be -4, too bad. This is 0, and it is apparently a match. ULG, so there you go. Now, this one we did already. So it's from 2 possibilities, and if you look in this cell, you can only come from there. If you come from this cell, do it for me. Is that clear? You can come from here. 3 minus 2 is 1. If you have a 0 here, then this is a match, then you have 1, and so on. So these are the possibilities. So what does this mean, you see? How many possible pathways are there to get from the left top to the right bottom? 3. So what does that mean, you think? It means, look, it wants to help me. Hey, that's unfair. Okay, here it is. So here's the same thing. So basically this means there are 3 possible alignments that score exactly the same. 3 possibilities, and they come out of this algorithm. Now, help me. Who can tell me why is the score? What is the score in the end? 2. Can you quickly check? Shall we do this loudly together? So if we have the first pair aligned, how many points did we earn here? 1. Second, we are at 2, 3, 2, 1 off for now. We're at 0, and now 1, 2. Beautiful, it works. Mathematics are great. This one you want to do, can you quickly see that this is also 2 here? 1, 2, 0, 1, 0, 1, 2. Yes. And the third one, okay. Yep. Anybody clear so far? Very good. But how are we going to, because in the end, how are we going to go back down? How do we do this? So you could do it using this, but I think your algorithm, if you're a bit clever, you use these pointers. You remember in your algorithm where you're coming from. Who doesn't know the story, the fairy tale of Little Thumb? There's always a fight between the Dutch and the international ones because the stories are different. I'm talking about this very small boy, the youngest in the family. He was very short, and he had parents, loving parents, and there were 6 boys, I think. And the parents were, the Little Thumb overheard his parents discussing, like, oh, we run out of food. We have to scale back a bit. You know what we do? We pretend to go on a night walk in the woods tomorrow, and then we leave our children in the woods to die, and we leave them and we run back and eat all the bread ourselves. You know, as loving parents would do, right? Anyway, fantastic story. And Little Thumb overheard this story, and he thought, I went outside, collected the stones, put them in his hands, and they went into the woods, and the parents were at once gone, and the big brothers were all crying. And Little Thumb said, oh, no problem, I know what to get back. Yes, look, I left each corner, I left a stone, you see there? Yeah, we'll go back, okay. So they were tracing back to the home. And they came back, and the parents were, it's so nice you're here, little children, we were so worried about you. So then, the story repeats again, shortage of food, same story. But now the father was actually clever, he closed the kitchen. So Little Thumb found this issue. He couldn't go outside to collect again, and the trace back trick. Okay, so then he found a few crumbs of bread, had in his pocket, tried to play the same trick. What happened? The memory in your algorithm was clobbered. In this case, the birds ate the bread, and there was nothing anymore, right? But in computer speak, that is, you have a bug in your program, the memory is gone, and so on, and everything goes in this way. And then the story unfolds, but that's not that interesting anymore. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. And basically what you say is, I know, we're all crying, where should I go? And then Little Thumb will tell you, no, you can go to there. And from now, and then now we're here, we're doing, you can go here. And here it's even more interesting. That was not in the Little Thumb story, because there was one road only that the parents took. But this happens when you go in bioinformatics, more possibilities, and you can go from back to here. And you follow up on all of those. How many alignments could this possibly give you? You align 1,000 sequences, each 1,000. Could be many different possible pathways now. That's a bit much. So algorithms normally are lazy, and they just give you one alignment. That's normally what out of possibly a million, scoring exactly the same. And then they do something like, there is, how you call this, and I think it might be, yeah, here you see it. So this is called the high road. See that? It's going most like this is the high road. This is the low road, and here we have even something like this, the middle road, middle of the road. Great, look at the old days. But anyway, so that's, and you have to, now for the sake of reconstructing all alignments, these are all the possibilities. You know what? Algorithms being lazy, they say, you know, when I have a multiple possibility, I could go back to here or to there. Most algorithms are so-called high road algorithms. What do they do? If there are more possibilities, in principle it could be that, you know, you could also have come from here. It says I take the most clockwise possibility. That's a high road algorithm, because you tend to pick here, you pick that one. Then when there would be another choice, you can go to the most clockwise. Yeah. And the low road algorithm, of course, doing exactly the opposite. You could even make a middle of the road algorithm. But anyway, this is what most algorithms do. They're lazy, right? Okay, guys, now see what you can do. You are this bioinformatician. You align sequences, two sequences, you give the result to a biologist, and this biologist says, I heard something about roads. Could you give me another alignment using the exact same algorithm? You're not allowed to reprogram it. How can you turn a high road algorithm into a low road algorithm? Or do something that the effect is that you go from high road to low road? Who has an idea? Brilliant. 1 pointer. Remember that. Very good idea. Just what was the first sequence and the second, you reverse it. There you go. Brilliant. You see, you can do so much about it. You don't need always to program. A bit of thinking helps you. Sometimes. Yeah? So, that's the thing. So this is what algorithms do, and I think it's high road that you will do. Okay, so, but how do you do the translation? Shall we try and reconstruct? So let's reconstruct the high road and the high road alignment. Let's see what happens. So, what is the rule? Where are you coming from? You always check where you come from. So what do? You're in 2 here, you came. How did you come into 2 diagonally? What does that mean if you come diagonally? You had a match or a mismatch. That means these 2 letters get on top. So basically you reconstruct your alignment by walking back from the end to the start. So basically you say, okay, this is what is this? Is this a gap in what? If I come from there, it means it was A on A. So you write that down in your algorithm. A on A, that's done. To the second. Where does this one come from? Diagonally can. What does that mean? It's G on G. Okay. Second one, we do the high road. Where do we come from? High road means from the top, right? Most clockwise. What does that mean for this cell? What is that? I can tell you, it's a gap. But where's the gap? This is now the making problem. Which equals the gap? So I'll give you a little thingy, if that points up. So that sequence is. So let's say that sequence is on top. So I'll put a gap here. And what does that mean then? If there is the gap, what is the letter for the other sequence, right? Now, we're here in the meantime. Where did we come from? From here. What does that mean? These letters mean something. They're on top. So what have we got here? A T on a G. Bit messy, but that's a G. Now we're done, right? Now we're here. And all of this is 3. So this is a GIG. Fill you in on that. A G on a G. And an A on an A. And a G on a G. So you do a few sanity checks if you've done this, in your algorithm as well. You first check, and at the exam I have roughly 20% of the students at least every year who do an algorithm, carry it out and change the sequence. Can't be right that you put in input sequences, you do an alignment, you get all the sequences. Evolution doesn't go that fast, okay? That shouldn't happen. So that's your first check. Do I respect the sequences? Do we? Okay, good. You already can say, what's the minimum number of gaps if you see these two sequences, by the way? What's the length of this one? This is 6 long. How long is this one? 7. That gives you already an idea what the minimum number of gaps should be. 1 at least. Right? Could be more. 1 at least. Okay, so that's respected as well then. And now we're going to check, and we did that already, like, would the alignment make sense if it is 2? If you do that, you get it. That gives you confidence that you can't be really wrong, right? That helps. Yeah. So, and mutatis sedum, you can do the middle row. Yeah. So that's how traceback works. Yeah? Question? Yes?
How would you want to decide to do
Yeah, what's the middle is different possibilities. Yeah, so that's why I say that. Yeah, so that becomes messy, that's why I say that you say, okay, if it's middle there, then I take this one, so you get a more complicated tool. That's why the high route is easy. Absolutely. Yeah. So there's a lot of fun in the line. So then we did all the roads. And so basically, alignment is a 2, well, maybe a 3-step approach. People say 2. What's the first thing you do in global alignment? You take the matrix, put just one sequence like this, people like that, then fill in this beginning row, -2, -4, -6. Some people say that's pre-processing, or they call that the first step. But then you do the forward calculation, diligently filling in all the cells until the right upper corner, and then you do this traceback step. So the little thumb story you do that. And at that point, you have your matrix cell in the bottom of the matrix, and you have your alignment reconstruction. Okay? Then you're done. Based on your algorithms that you're going to make, should be able to do this. Okay? What more can I tell you about this place? Yeah, so let's talk quickly about the order. How do you take the order of filling in the cells? I'll give you an order. Can I start filling in here and work my way back? Would that work? What do you need to fill in each cell? 3 guys. So could you do an order like this? Fill it in. Normally we read books like this, right? Could you read it down like that? Would that happen? No problem. Could you do it Arabic? No. That's so normally, most algorithms are matrix treated this just roll dice as we read a book, and that works. So that's probably what you do. But there is no necessity. Alright, so let's go on. Where are we now? Yeah, so what can a path mean? So we have already this case, right? When you would come from here, what would that mean? So we do something by filling in these rows at the beginning in order to keep track of gaps preceding one of the sequences, right? Called the beginning gaps, or end gaps we call them. But we don't do something at the end. Can there be gaps following a sequence? Obviously that can happen too. So why do we not do all kinds of difficult things to keep track of that? The answer basically is here. Suppose you do an alignment, because where is the answer? Where do all alignments need to end up? In this lower right corner, right? So what happens if you have an alignment, it goes nice, you go here, boom. What do we do? You're forced down if you're here. The only thing you can do is go down, go down, go down. What does that mean? You insert a gap, and what you do, you take 2 points off. So you keep track within the algorithm of the gaps following the sequence. But you do keep track of this initialization rows and column for the gaps preceding one of the sequences. Okay? So that's one. And the other thing is, again, as we practiced, what does it mean basically? If you come diagonally, you talk about matching letters, get match or a mismatch. And if you go down this way, down, then you talk about gaps. So the moment you walk to the right portion or down, you insert a gap. And depending on if you go to the right or down, this is inserting a gap in that sequence there. If you come to the left, it's that sequence. So that's basically. Okay, so there is one limitation with the algorithm we do here, because what is happening, we put this in here, there's only one gap penalty, so what kind of gap penalty are we talking about here? A linear one, right? Doesn't matter, just a constant penalty of each gap you would introduce. But there are these two other ways of making penalties. Could we cater for that in an algorithm like this? Let's have a look. Here you go. You should go back a little to really speak about this. Okay, so now go back more. Go back to the. Okay, let's say we want now to talk about this one. Because the picture was there. Yeah, that's this one. You give the first gap, say, a boost. Say you take 10 points off, and then you get following the first minus sign. You say, ooh, let's take 2 points off. So just like we did before. But the higher gap penalty from the beginning, from this reasoning that starting a gap. What does this mean, in fact, in evolution, if you would insert a gap? Anybody an idea? 2 sequences. Say 2 protein sequences you align. Now you have a gap of 30 long. But what has happened? Or insertion, of course, I'd say that. Now think about what would that mean if you have 2 protein structures, 2 3-dimensional structures. That means one has something at a certain position where the other does not have a certain position. So it means, so for proteins, and there will be a whole course, structural bioinformatics for you in February, but I'll give you, here is one protein. Messy stuff, right? Proteins, you can see that. Now I'll try it over, I should remember. Oh, this is, well anyway, just pretend this is the same thing. Because now at once, you know, you get sort of a Mickey Mouse here, right? I could do it like, done this, so suppose then, say this is another protein. Okay? You know what I mean. Probably only confusing you at this stage, but anyway. So one sequences have the Mickey Mouse here and the other one doesn't have. So you align the 2 sequences, the letters are nicely sort of similar, and then the gap, where would the gap land? You have proper alignment, where this one sequence has all this stuff, where the other has not. So what does that mean? It means structurally something. Either a loop has been inserted in evolution in the structure, or has been cut out in the other one, right? So it means a gap represents an evolutionary event. This has cost. This is changing. Changing is expensive. A match gives you points, and a mismatch is points off. Because that is evolutionary theory. The same happens for gaps. And that is why mismatches normally you give negative values in most cases, many cases. And for gaps you typically do. Yeah? Okay, then we can go on. This is what it means. And now on, we're going this way because it's going to ask you, suppose now you want to do this defined gap penalty. The first gap, if you have a gap of 10 long, the first one you penalize harsher than the others. So, how can I find out, so what do you need to know? In order, what should you be able to apply? If you are at the gap, you need to know, was this the first gap? Or is it the gap following? Because you need to apply another gap penalty. So how can you find out, if you come out of this cell, say, what is the position, where do you come from when you have inserted a gap here? You know that, right? It's either from the top or from the left. Okay, good. But how can you find out whether that gap you introduce is the first one in the series or the one following? Who has an idea? Nobody else? And I give the word to you. Yeah, we need to talk to these 2 guys. Okay, then that's a good idea. Suppose here. So what is then your story? So we're on about this one. It came from here, so this is the gap. Now we want to check whether this is the first one or not. So if it will be the first one, where would you come from to get into this cell? Very good. And otherwise, if it's following gap, you would go through. Very good. Clear? Another. That's sometimes excluded with this. And you had a point? Yeah?
It needs to be more efficient instead of looking back just counting. You know, when you're backtracing and writing down the alignment, you counter how many gaps you encounter every time you hit a match or mismatch you reset.
Yeah, it's a lot of calculation, more you need no memory, so in the end it's possible, but it doesn't typically happen because it's considered cumbersome. Yes, so here, but I'll show you in a moment how this is implemented in real, and that's also a bit more expensive. So here, that's exactly the story the gentleman over there was talking. If you say coming from here means this is a gap, you want to find out, is this a gap, a starting gap, or a gap that is, or an extension gap, so not the first position, but a later position. Then you check whether this cell comes from the top or diagonally, because that means if you come from here, that means that this was 2 letters on top, so this means the first gap. If you came from here, this already means a gap. That means that if you insert another gap, you're not. And that, of course, is the same for coming from the top as it is coming from the left. Same. So in practice, a lot of algorithms do it like this. You don't need to know this by heart, right? Just filling you in on what step is over there. Here you see the 3 possibilities, basically. And here you see the situation that occurs for these fine gap penalties. You see your GO means gap open penalty. It's normally a bit more severe than the GE, the gap extension penalty. This is for the first gap and this is for the later gap. These possibilities are there. You see here, this difference is being made like that. But for this algorithm, 3 different matrices are kept track of. You have now not one matrix where you fill in everything, you have 3 different matrices. A match matrix, an insertion in the one sequence matrix, and an insertion in the other sequence matrix. Well, I'll give you a minute. Okay, so a lot is happening and there are all kinds of different possibilities here. Now, talk about complexity. I remember we had a long time ago this master runs, the bioinformatics part of the master runs since 2003. The systemology track runs since 2009. We were checked, there is no place on earth where you're not, where you're as much checked as in universities, right? We're all checked. We write reports, we don't do anything else in the meantime. So every 3 years big committees come about and now show us your master, what are you doing? All these poor students and so on. You have to give a good show. Then I had explained to students what the time steps of an algorithm are, and I even had used the word complexity, but there was a committee member who asked us, a computer scientist, tell me what is the complexity of this algorithm then, in an interview with a student. And this poor student said, it's not so complex. And then this guy was up in the arms and oh, very bad program, you don't teach students what complexity is. We did. But so, I'll do it again to make sure you know when you're asked about complexity, you give the right answer. So complexity, you can have runtime complexity, it just means how does the problem, how does the algorithm slow down, respond to the size of the input, how does the algorithm scale? When your sequences get twice as long, what happens with this algorithm is how many steps you need to calculate. Who has an idea about it? Let's go back a little bit. We'll go to a real matrix. Here is one. If the sequences will become twice as long, what happens with your matrix? 4 times, right? So your work is 4 times as much, right? So what's this, make that into a formula. When it becomes 3 times as long, each of the sequences, how much more work is that? 9 times. So this is quadratic complexity. Square algorithm. What about the memory you need? Does that scale in a different way or does it scale the same? Same, right? Very good. Now you know. Don't forget. If you notice, please. Okay. So here we are. And that is, oops, I'm ready. Move a few things away. We were here. Okay, so basically the runtime complexity and the space or the memory complexity is both n squared. What does this mean? This is the way that computer scientists write this down. It just means, we just say when the sequence is n long, maybe, on a fast computer, each calculation takes a split second, on a slow computer a bit more, and so on. So you say, this is just the order how it scales, and the scale is quadratic. Yeah? You don't know if this is an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, depends of course on the length of your case and so on, and of the computer you have, or the cloud you use, and so on, right? So this is why they write it, of the order of. Okay, now, yeah. So you said we could keep track of more things, and this is one way. This is Mr. Goto, a Japanese scientist who did it in another way. It has advantages. Who of you plays chess? How many of you know the chess? Do you know the horse jump? What's a horse jump here? Where do you come from if you get a horse jump? From this one, right? You jump to there. So here in this Goto algorithm we have very funny horse jumps. It's not only that you can come from this cell to there, but you can get a very strong horse to make you enormous jump from this cell to there. You keep track of all those possibilities. So you leave the idea of how did you so far, what did you need to know when you came in this cell, the left one, the diagonal one, and the top one, and here you need to keep track of all of those positions. But that means if you come from here, say a cell that is 4 cells back or something, what is it you know now which you don't know in the other algorithm? You know the length you get exactly. Because of this funny horse jump, you do it, you memorize more, but you know if I come from this cell here and I jump immediately to this cell, you know how many, basically you will walk down to get there, so you don't make it. Now that has an advantage because with this algorithm you can basically use all possible penalty regimes, a fine, concave, do something more crazy, a combination of the two, something completely different, whatever functionality you would like to make there, you can use because you know exactly the number. So the phasing is different in this algorithm. And so here the formula is now changed a little bit. It's not the max over 3 possibilities, but the max of coming diagonally, plus the max over all of those possibilities you check, coming from here, from there, from there, from there, and so on. And also here. We're not going to construct this algorithm, I'll just tell you this is there too, it has some advantages. What about relative complexity, you think? No. What do you do for each cell? Basically, for this cell you need to check that this one. It's not just 3 things, it's depending. So if you are at the beginning, is this serious? Not so much, because you know you hardly have any preceding bits. But if you're here or here, you know there's quite a bit you need to check, right? You need to check this whole sort of hook here, preceding the cell, going out of the diagonal above. So if you're here, there's a lot to check. It means for each cell, on average, you need to check a complete row. What does that mean? How does that work out, you think? So I'm going to like this. It was square before, right? Quadratic. Now it becomes cubic. It scales as the 3rd power. Meaning, if your sequences get twice as long, it's not 4 times more work, it's 8 times more. So this scales less. That's beneficial. Yeah? It's more expensive soon. If sequences get long, this algorithm gets more expensive. Now, Goto was a clever guy, and he immediately invented something to cut back on that, and it's still a cubic algorithm. This is basically what it is. Now, whatever all of the flavors of algorithms, you have an initialization step, filling in the get penalties. At the beginning, do your forward step, fill in the scores in the cells, and do your transfer. Yeah? And it's helpful to use pointers to memorize the stones of little thumb. It means you need more memory, right? You need to store these pointers. You can do it without, but then you have to in each cell to check again. Yeah? Okay. What is great in red here, this algorithm, this trick, guarantees that if you have your scoring system, your match and your mismatch scores, whether they come from a matrix or they're just 2 scores, and you have your defined set of get penalties, you will have guaranteed the best scoring alignment. Maybe the most, if your score is nice, the evolutionary most likely alignment. Hopefully your score is a biologically relevant score. That's not always the case. Let's say, hopefully it is. Do we have all best scoring alignments? No. Normally only the high road ones, so 1 out of possibly many. And now biologists are people who can really make you. Anyway, because some people say, you know what, you give me this best alignment of scoring 1,000, it's beautiful, I'm impressed, but could you check a few alignments that score just a bit lower? You know, maybe biologically they're more relevant, we don't know. It's okay, you can say, no, my scoring function is really biology, you know, like. So if you do that, then you talk about suboptimal alignments. And how many possibilities are there? Huge. So, That's, you know, sometimes when people are in the application domain, it's difficult to talk to them. You like to sit them at the table when they're coming. If you're in trouble, you think you have a great tool. Okay, anyway, let's go to the next step. We go now from global alignment to semi-global, and I already I think I alluded to that. It's not about cutting the sequences in half. It's half in another way. In fact, it's a bad name, but I'll show you what it will be. Here's the thinking. Suppose you align, you have a cow gene, found a cow gene, right? And you align that against the horse genome. Let's say a horse and a cow are related species. The sequences are, the genomes are homologous, coming from the same ancestor. So what kind of alignment would you have? Well, this would be the gene, and the top sequence would be the genome. Something like this or something like this. Who dares to take a pick? A gene was a local fragment of DNA, right? So this alignment is not about a local fragment of DNA. It's totally scattered over the DNA, right? So you would like an alignment like this. But so far in our algorithm, there is not really a reason to prefer this alignment over that one. That is where semi-global comes in. It says, let's try and favor this type of alignment over this one. Like when one sequence is much shorter than the other, the shorter sequence gets together a bit. So how can we do this here? Who has an idea? Some scientists thought about this, and they then thought, you know what? Let's talk about different kinds of gaps. Let's talk about end gaps, gaps that are preceding a sequence or following a sequence, and gaps that are not named, but let's say internal gaps, or just the gaps as we know them. So we have either end gaps against normal gaps, if you like, internal gaps. So how could you now enforce a little bit that this happens? You got an idea? Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah. Yeah. You agree? Okay, what does that mean? Okay, I think you're already there. Okay, but let's, before I, will agree with you, show you a matrix example. Here is some applications of semi-global. Because my battery is reaching in. Do you see this? I don't, yeah. Okay, so finding a gene in the genome, as I already talked about, you could maybe placing a marker on the chromosome, so all the time when there is something short aligned to get something longer, and there is reason to believe that the short thing should be better, semi-global alignment is a good one, and one sequence. If one sequence that is much longer than the other, you might also just try and see what happens, right? But now I'll tell you a little story in practice. If these are two protein sequences, you know, there are 20 different kinds of amino acids in the protein sequence, right? It can be hydrophobic, more about this in next courses, and hydrophilic, you know, likely to have contact with water or not. At the end of each sequence, there are smaller polar sequences, amino acids rather. So there is a subset of the letters are likely at the beginning and the end. Because in a protein, the beginning was not well drawn here, but beginning and end sort of stick out a bit, so they're small and polar. Now, suppose you're going to use semi-global alignment. And so I forgot one thing to tell you. This should give you in first what is indeed happening. What you do is if you do semi-global alignment, the end gaps, these two, will not be peeled. That's what you said. So you go for free. That's great. So now if you compare, so how many gaps are scoring negative in this example now? This goes for free, this goes for free, there's this one. And in this example, this one. So this one will score more highly, probably far easy. So that's the idea, right? So now to here, this can happen. What is happening? Suppose the sequences are totally different, but there is reason to believe that there is a bit of similarity naturally in protein sequences at the beginning bit and the end of the sequence. So what is happening if you align this? You have a bit of the end of one sequence at the beginning, so this is a bit similar, and what happens with all the gaps you would have here? So this is not so. This is sometimes, if sequences are really different in proteins, that you get this, instead of a decent looking alignment, sequence is more. And then some people say, oh, that's terrible, don't use semi-global, it refuses to align. But other people say, no, the algorithm shows you that you're aligning two sequences that are really too different to be. So it's a good thing. So there's good in the book of one person, and bad thing of another, but that's what we have to deal with. So this is a tendency that basically a semi-global alignment can have. So think about evolution now quickly. You align two sequences, two protein sequences. One sequence starts evolving. First it aligns like this, it was totally the same. Now one you get different levels. So you get gaps, you get mismatches. Then after a while it's still like this, and once the thing says, oops, I do it like that. Because now it's too bad, now too different. Yeah? Phase transition, physicists call it. But anyway, so this is a bit of intelligence we need, right? To not score these end gaps and all this intelligence. What do you think? How will that influence the algorithm as we know it? Here you go. I think this was already mentioned, what you should do. It's only easier in one sense. You don't need to worry about -2, -4, -6. It's great, you put zeros. Why is that? What happens now? You start here, you come from there, you just say, that gap I had at the beginning, that cost me nothing, right? You start missing. That's what happens. Oh, sorry. Global alignment was aligning all the residues, all gaps penalized. Semi-global alignment is aligning all the residues in each of the both sequences, and gaps are not penalized. And now we go to local alignment, where from each sequence, subsequence can be selected that aligns well. Now, how does that look? Look at the picture here. We have a sequence, and the idea might be evolution is going to happen. Perhaps some parts of the sequences are more important for the functionality of the protein, for example, than other parts. And it might therefore be that the light blue bits become very divergent. You know, all the letters are different. You hardly see any evolutionary trace anymore. Whereas these middle bits here, this fragment and that fragment, are still quite similar because conservation, selection pressure, Darwinian selection pressure was on those bits only. So we need an algorithm to look over the sequences, select what is the best subsequence in each of the sequences, and then align those and not align the other bits. Sounds quite intelligent, doesn't it? So what kind of algorithm will this be? Entirely different, do you think, or not? And the definition is that the alignment of these two bits should be locally maximal. It means you cannot make it any better by selecting some other subsets, right? Some other subsets. They should really be aligned best out of all possibilities. Okay. And here is again what I said. You know, some parts of sequence might mutate faster, diverge faster than others. And there is no reason to believe why this could not happen, by the way. There's more of those fragments in the sequence that align well. And even what you could have is something like this. This is another application where apparently a motif in the sequence that aligns well has been repeated. You know how that was called? For the second DNA? Anybody? Biology, remember that? Very good. So, that's right. Okay. And then, you know, you would find a possible line between these two fragments and also between the copy. And okay, so do these things in biology happen? You bet. These are not even good examples, but you already can see that an immunoglobulin domain can occur in various settings. This is one type of protein. This is a schematic rendering of the domain structure, different bits that have all functionality in proteins. So you see it. So stuff is reused all the time. A motif might happen 10 times in one sequence, 2 times in another, and not a third in the family. How can alignment will keep track of that? And local alignment is a good step on the way. All right, now let's give you the background how we could get there. Suppose this is a global alignment. You did the paper exercise last Monday, right? So let's say we have the best alignment was according to this path in this matrix. So if we got here a match or a mismatch, and what is this? If it goes like that, yes, right? If you go like this, then you go to the jerking gaps, and then you go to the top. So say that the diagonal bits of this pathway here were matches. What is happening with the score? And now we walk over this path, like we did when we started scoring the alignments. We said 1 and then 2 and then 0 and then 1 and then is it -1, -3 and so on, scoring. If you do that, walking over this path, what would it be? And I want to hear going up or going down. What happens if you go diagonal? It is mostly matches. The score goes, thank you. Now you go to the right, the score goes down. And then we go again, and the score goes up, right? So, basically, do we agree that this is this picture? Go first in the diagonal bit, so you get positive scores, and then you go into the gap region, so you go down, and then maybe this is a longer trace until the picture would say, then it goes down for a long while, and maybe at the end, you have a gap again, and it will go down, right? If you were to select a good fragment, you were to cut the sequence, to hack out 2 fragments, where would you like to be in this curve, you think? Which bit? Would this be a candidate? Would this be a candidate? Hopefully no, be nothing. Say no, please. And then you go up again. So basically, here we go. Because what was it? This is gap. That's not good, right? Gap will be negative. You want a sub-sequence that will build a positive scoring. And that is basically why you will select this bit or that bit. And depending, of course, how the building of the score is, one would be better than the other. And length is not the only thing. Of course, how much score you get is another thing. And so, but basically, if you look here, this starts below 0, right? This is the 0 line here. The score is minus something here. Is that of concern to you? Do you want that? No, because if you hack this bit off anyway, you'll give it a fresh start. That's the idea. So all scores will start, overtake positive. But basically, what do you want to do? You want to elevate this bit up. And then you find out, oh, this is basically the decimal. Okay, so where do you want to start? Let's say here, at the bottom of the valley. Where do you want to stop? Want to stop here, or do you want to stop here at the end? If you want to stop in the deepest valley, you want to start in the deepest valley, you want to stop at the highest. Right? So, basically, we're talking about from here till there, further. Okay? That is what the algorithm should be able to do. It should put in all the thinking. Do you think we will be ready by the end of this lecture that I can explain that to you, all this complexity? What do you think? Sorry, I should have told this one. I think you can hear me. It is better. So, let's do it. Again, what have we got? We have the same old matrix again. You put one sequence like this and one like this. But now we will have the situation that we should be able to take not the whole pathway, but say, let's forget about this. This is too bad, doesn't help, it's negative. And we stop here because what is following will be negative. It should be this number. So, the rest is all the same. So how are we going to do this? Who sees the difference with before? We have best out of 3, right? Now it's best out of 4. But what is the fourth one? Do you see that? No, I could 11 years of research, you might say, short. And by the way, this is a lesson. I know that if you ask young people, what kind of profession do you want to do? What do you want to be later on when you're grown up? A bus driver or a teacher? And then they will say, well, I want to be famous. That is a profession, right? Now, if you have also that feeling, you want to be famous or rich, then you want a trick to do little and get a lot back for that little work you do, right? That's the way to become rich at least. And in science, this guy became rich by doing very little. Just changing the algorithm, say, okay, it is a max anyway, I'll put the 0 in, and And overnight, these guys became famous. It's not an algorithm, and everybody in the field hearing this, they said, respect. This is zero. Okay. Anyway, and this is the paper. The first paper was in 1970, so 11 years later, this one came out. And these guys, you know, they knew what they were doing, right? If you do it, it should be a clever little thing, right? It should not be stupid, it should be very clever. This is a very clever zero, I can tell you. I'll fill you in. What else? So, one of the authors, Smith, wasn't an ostensibly great guy, but when he was young, he came from Texas with a fitting accent, right? And he was wearing really cowboy hat all the time with a little robe mustache. Anyway, and so he said always in those days, like, you know, big groups, and my biggest contribution to science has been zero. You know, he didn't mean he didn't do anything, he meant that zero there. This is the famous zero. Good contribution to science. What does it mean if you apply that zero? So say, you know, if you pick out of 3, this would evaluate to -2, this would evaluate to -3, and this would even evaluate to -4. What's going to happen? What do you take as value in the cell? 0. So what do you in fact say? That 0 means that if the result would become negative, you just say, forget about it. 0 in it. I want to start with a clean sheet. This is the result of aligning 2 bits of sequence that are negative. Not what we want to start fresh. So that is what you do. And this is basically what happens, and there is one other small result, a small difference. So here you go, and if you fill in, let's do the exercise, same sequences. Real quick, do you see some bits that are, you know, in your book? Ooh, this could be something, look a little bit there. Anyway, so let's do it. Same thing as before, but filling in using that extra 0. Okay, how many do we have? Okay, who can explain to me, who can fill in this one for me, using the 3 possibilities? Same scoring scheme as before. So, how would this evaluate coming from 0 here? -1. If you come from the top, would it mean -1, and coming from the left, even worse, -2. This is an example. Anything you do is negative. What do you do? Or Smith and Waterman take over, they put in the 0. So basically, you might have already had an inkling, you see 2 types of 0, you see thin zeros, you see fat zeros, gold zeros. The gold zeros are the enforced zeros. Are the famous contribution to cycle zeros, right? That is when the result is too bad. Why is this not a gold zero? Well, you can see it, because you can get it coming from the left. So this one of the 3 scores gives you either a positive or a non-negative score, then you don't need to apply this. Okay? Now there we go. So let's fill in the whole thing. And now what? Is the answer in the right lower corner, like the global? Is the answer in the last row or the last column, like in semi-global? Where is the answer this time? Anywhere in the matrix that has the highest score. 7, right? Is that only 1? No, it can be a million 3s. Not here, but the matrix will be bigger. So, where do we start then? So, what you already know is you end up in this cell here, because that's the highest there is to find. And this is a very easy example, of course. How do you trace back? Not so difficult, right? Bang, bang. So, which local fragment have you got here? GAG, that's perfectly on. GAG, and all the rest here, TGA. And here, GCGA is apparently so divergent, the algorithm doesn't want to stop. So basically, by putting in the 0, you create all this selection intelligence in one go. Right? So these guys knew what they were doing. So that's basically all I can tell you. This is what local means. It's not intelligent. You just, you know, you start. And what about this beginning row and column? Do you see it? I don't see it. There isn't. It doesn't, you know, it's not defined anymore. The gap at the beginning, of course, is always negative. You don't even talk about this. You cut it out. Any beginning stretch that will have gaps is negative. This is not a possibility. So, you do not need to worry about initializing this algorithm. You can start immediately. Okay? So why is this a fat 0, you think? can tell you, there will be a G or an A, because anything you do now here is just a match or a mismatch. So only in this simple scoring scheme, of course, in the beginning row, you see that only matches receive 1, and this matches receive -1, and then you fill it in like you always do. So this is a fat 0, you can see why it's all too bad. Here we have a deservant 0, because it can come from there. So basically, you end in the last cell, you just trace back the always do. But, where do we stop? Yeah, you have a question? Yeah, okay. So the answer was where it is to find the highest cell anywhere in the matrix, and now we do the trace back from there. But how do we trace back? Here's your answer. What can happen if you trace back in this scenario? Suppose you start here. Suppose you would meet a fat 0. What does that mean in your trace back? That means what is before that is not good, as is selected then. So basically you trace back until you are at the end of the matrix, or when you get to a fat 0. That means you stop. Then, it's here, if you get in that fat 0, you do not include the cell with that fat 0, because that 0 cell, that enforced 0 cell, was the result of the value. Yep. So that's the rule here. You put it in your algorithm, it will run properly. Yeah. And here the answer is no alignment. Can a local alignment have a gap on board? That example not here, but yes, of course it can. If you have the low stretch, and there's just one letter in between. So that's entirely possible. Can a local alignment start somewhere in the middle of the matrix and end somewhere in the middle? Yes, that can happen too. What is this? Another example. What have you got? Oh, here you see just as here you see one that starts somewhere in the matrix and ends somewhere without gaps, beginning in the middle of the matrix and ending there as well. So all is possible. And in this GoTo algorithm, or the funny horse jerk algorithm version, which you do not need to execute, which allows you to understand what is happening, you can also do the Swiss multiplier by just adding the famous 0 also here in the equation. You get the exact same thing. Yeah.
But if you have 2 times 3, you go
Again. Ah, yeah, that's good. What do we do? More 3s. What's the algorithm? It's not 15. What would you like to select a cell? So most of them just give you select a 3 or whatever. Maybe the lowest towards the end. Easier question. It was asked during the break. I have to go back a bit. Where is it? Oops, further than I thought. Semi-global. Can there be another 3 somewhere here? Could be, right? And there, the last row, both. There are more 3s. Which one do you pick? There's the other who picks one. Which one should you pick? Now, question. So if this would have been a 3, you can pick either the S and N cell, this one, or that one. Does anybody need the US one? By those would be favored. Yeah. The lowest option that translates to the most, the rightmost. Yeah, I guess so. What does an alignment mean that is here? What does this alignment mean? What do you align basically? Only the last letter, that's the first letter. So that's an alignment like this. So if you prefer alignments to go more inward, then you have to go more towards the lower end. Yeah? Okay. Back to global. That's the local. So, where are we? All this. Got a few interesting things. So, again, the advantage, you can basically put in any type of penalty in this flavor of the algorithm. This is where you do it for the fine penalties, or for the fine penalties. The concave will be used as well. Any gap penalty regime can be used in the funny horse jerk algorithm. Okay. What is all this? Ah, yeah. This is sort of when you have a matrix like this, and you have a very high score in alignment, you get something that is called a shadow. Look at this, for example. What do you think in the matrix if you have a very high scoring path? You know, all kinds of amino acids that are very similar, so the path is going well. And then you get 6 scores higher. That means that closer to this path, you get other less optimal alignment, suboptimal alignment, but they also don't have a high score because they go for a while, they follow that path, and they go off later on. So these ones all are scores that have something to do with part of this path. Yeah. So if we take, and that's a clump of an alignment. So where am I trying to talk about? Basically now, to fill in your point, what if we have a 3 here in the matrix and another 3 here in the matrix? What does that mean? Could mean, back again. Remember this picture? Remember this picture? This one? 2 minutes. Suppose this would end up in the 3 and that would end up in the 3. Would it be a way that we could change the algorithm a little bit and be able to trace back multiple algorithms? Just one. This is no algorithm. I spent a lot of money just doing one. It's lazy. What can we extend this algorithm and rescue those kind of cases? So build up this alignment and that alignment, and here build up this local alignment and that local alignment. How could we do that? Now, that has to do with shadows. I'll go back to this picture. Here, I'll show you a really filled in large alignment. So here you see that we have a local alignment, and these other bits, they derive from it because this 18 cell scores high, then if you make a gap here instead of going on, this is also pretty nice. So you can have high scores. So you get that alignments can be dependent upon something that good that happens in the area. Now, here we have an example. Can you understand what this means? Why do you have all these local alignments? What does that mean? You see the dark bits, this is a motif, this is a repeat of that motif, and here you have the same motif, maybe it's changed a bit, but it's still very similar, and you have 3 incarnations of that repeat in this sequence. That means that if you align this bit with that bit, you get something, and this bit with that. So this effect you get if you have a 2 repeat protein aligning against a 3 repeat protein. Yep. It's interesting, eh? If you could recognize this automatically, you can find exactly the repeat positions. So here you get something for real. These are repeat protein alignments, and you not only see how can you see that this is something that repeats? This is one sequence, this is another sequence. How can you see this is repeats? Funny alignments, right? You see this pathway, dark is high score, right? Light is low score. So you see, do you see this sort of all these diagonals going up? I tell you, that means repeats. More repeats. You can't like this. But you see the shadows here? So to find out, what is really good alignment in this scenario, we should need to clean up this stuff and clean up the shadows to be able. Because what do we want to do? In this example, for example, this example is double. So if you so one of those would be the best, right? So this score is 15. Okay, that's the greatest. That's the Smith logarithm. What could we do to rescue the others in the matrix? How should we treat it? You could say, you know what? If I find another 15 as a higher score, I go try that one. But how do you know that that is a score? That score could then be also closer to here as a shadow of that. That would mean you would have as a second alignment, an alignment that overlaps with the earlier one. That's not what you would want. You would really like another one. Right? So you would like another high score somewhere else in the matrix. And then you would rescue those or that one or that one. So basically, what is a way to deal with this competition? You have the matrix filled in, remember? You have all the cells in the value, then you pick the highest one and you trace that back. What would you do? What if you would put all the values of that pathway to 0? What would happen the next time? Yeah? And somebody is happy, so he thought of this. Any other thing? Is that good enough? Or should you zero more, perhaps? Yeah.
Actually calculates the shadow as well.
Yeah. So you need to do a little bit of work. Yeah. So there are various ways of doing this. But basically, you wipe that history, and then you do the same thing again. You calculate just the split what you pick the next or the highest cell at that moment and trace back. And that is basically what happens here. And I think the concept. Hey, here. Look, if you clean it, if you take away the shadows, you will get this. Then you're surer what you, because that means that any next alignment after this one would never select anything close to this, and you would select the one that has no overlap. And that's the importance of doing this. Okay, we'll have it over here, and that's not the same thing. Clear the best alignment. Yeah. So, cleaning and doing it again. So basically, it's repeating the algorithm after the cleanup work. Then you can even calculate multiple local alignments. Okay? Okay, so, and this algorithm is called Michael Waterman, the one from Smith and Waterman. This is with a postdoc. This is our Eggert algorithm to do this and repeat the thing. Yeah?
There was the first picture of the alignment.
This one?
No.
Oh, way back. Oh, we go way back.
This
Oh.
one.
Yeah.
Because here you have the diagonal 1, 2, 3, 1.
Yeah.
How would you choose to go for the 1, 2, 3 or the 3, 2, 1? Because they are simple. So if you would choose the last one, you would start at 3
Yeah.
and go back to 2 or 1, or you can go from 3 downwards, right? To 2 and 1.
Yeah, but you will go to 3, you trace that one back, so this is the one you find, you wipe it, and you wipe more about it. And then, what is this, if you would take this 2, for example, what would that mean? Where did it come from? From part of the alignment. So that 2, that's basically the point. You should not select that 2, because that 2 is dependent on what you would have. That's what you do not want. Yeah, I see where you're going from. Yeah.
But you do choose to do the bottom right corner because it goes back to 0 first.
Yeah, that one was more possible, because that's an independent one. Absolutely. And maybe in this case you would take that one. Is there any other thing that's good to hear maybe? To be done? Anyway, so there are not. But it's about that independence that you need to. Okay? Right, there we go. Quickly back, we're nearly done I think. We better be nearly done because we're reaching. I hope we're nearly done. Yeah, this we did. This is all recapitulation what you should do. Is there anything else? About the local alignment. Again, what you should do. I have one. Yeah, so this is a famous paper, a landmark paper. What did these guys do? What do alignment scores mean? And I think I looked at a few pictures at home. Basically what these guys did, they said, you know what, you would like to be able to take alignment scores, and given the height of that score, you would like to say something like, these 2 sequences are really homologous probably, and these 2 are not homologous. I already gave you an example, I think on Monday, about hemoglobin sequences. It can be 90% different in horse, cow, and humans, close species. And there is another type of proteins in cells called histones. They protect DNA. They are near and totally conserved, almost totally conserved, from bacteria all the way to humans. So for alignment, these are easy guys, right? To align them, it's all easy, it's all nearly the same. If hemoglobin is 90% different, then it becomes. So when do you say if you have these 2 guys, this one is probably homologous? For histones, if you would find a sequence that is 70% identical, that's not good enough for a histone. But for hemoglobin, you say, fantastic, 70%, great, homologous. So it's not so easy. Just a single say, oh, 70% doesn't work. Of course, people want to keep things very easy. And of course, people work out a ballpark number, and that is roughly 30%. If you ask a molecular biologist who wants an easy worldview, they say if 3 out of 10 letters are the same, given evolution, normally that means So here they try to get a handle on this. So they did a lot of measurements, and what they did is they had a database of alignments where they had a structure. And from the structures they could see, oh, this protein is sort of, yeah, it looks like this, we call this homologous. And now we do the alignment to see what it gives us. And what they did here is, so they say here, and what is blue, that bit where the structure said homologous, and where it's orange, the structures didn't say that, it was different. And here is what you get. Depending on the length, so what happens, here is the score of the alignment, centered sequence identity. So you have an alignment first, and then you count how many letters are identical. That's here, and here is just the length of an alignment. And what do you see? If you want to be sure that something, or pretty certain that something is homologous, from the structural similarity, in a shorter alignment, the score should really go up. You know what? In alignments below 10, as here, you're never sure. Even if you have an alignment of 10 or 100% identical, it's not statistically not good enough. Right? You need longer alignments. So these guys said, you know what? It's very clear that from 80, I don't know why it's here, they said it's a straight line. And then they said, you know what? This ballpark figure of 30% sequence identity is roughly what you have. So that's why also this ballpark figure comes from. So this is a very rough approach, and it gives you a feel. And you know what we want to do in bioinformatics? We hate the orange. Guys, my order to you is get orange down. We want to make it blue or black, don't mind. No, knowingly not similar or not homologous or homologous. So we need to make more sensitive algorithms that can tell more about the sequence and make this region smaller. Now, there are a couple. This is, you can do that. This is what alignment all can do. You know, you see this one? What do you think that a global alignment will do if you give it a silly sequence like this? Domain A and domain B, and this sequence is commuted. This happens all the time, by the way, in build sequences. Where you have this. So if you say global alignment, go ahead, align this, garbage in, garbage out. You get this alignment, it will not score very high. If you ask for something stupid, you get something. There you go. So what is better here? What would local alignment give you in this situation? Well, this or that. It's a lot better, right? Same here. If you have a sequence, it's a long sequence with a whole domain B in it, and here B is deleted during evolution. You would hope to get an alignment where, of course, C is nicely lined here crossing over B, but very often, if the gap penalties are too rigid, you cannot make such a long gap. It won't happen to get something like that. That's not so good. Again, local alignment can rescue these things. You see, either AA on top selected, and basically you don't see this, right? The alignment won't report this. That's all. Only the thick bit you get report. Either this one, depending on the score. So, local alignment. Example, those proteins that can be way different is this. This is hemoglobin, just a collection of alpha images. We'll talk about this more than you might even like in the course structural bioinformatics. So I won't tire you at this moment. But what is interesting, a lot of these proteins lack the so-called D helix, the fourth helix in the package, just gone in many of the structures. So alignment should be able to make gaps that fit that. So that's not so easy. Here we have an immunoglobulin, nice computer rendering of it, and there is here a so-called variable region, the letters differ completely all the time, and a constant region where the letters, that part of the sequence is more the same. Alignment should be able to do that. Last example, this is a two-domain protein, and you should believe structural biologists who say this bit of the protein is exactly the same as this bit in structure. If you turn this, you see it's like that. And you look at the sequence of it, and it's totally so different that you can't align it. So evolution can really change sequences beyond recognition. That's the message. So alignment is in the hands, if you talk about it, is to find out, oops, I thought alignment is just dynamic programming. You take that score. You really want to do biology with it, you get all the stories. Now, I think with that, we have all this means for alignment. This is not so important now. So I think it's time for you to go. Practical. Thank you very much.